Yeah.
Oh, it's a mine.
Yeah. Actually sounds really good.
So most of these.
Awesome.
Strings. Big bone parts.
See, the only issue is sometimes it's hard to know when she's gonna come in. She could come in when the meeting's already started.
Well, no budget very so typical. Check 1, 2, 3, 4. That was one for the ball. Test. Yeah, because that'd work. Because then we can dispatch. I get an 8
PSD, can you hear us okay?
What happens to little kids? They just loaded up the trailers and they
Hello, everyone. We now have a quorum. Sorry for the delay. Oh, that's not here.
Oh,
That's okay.
I was 2 seconds.
No worries. I'm happy you all are here. I don't have Bob here to run the meeting, so.
They're quickly from Martinsville.
Really good morning.
Yeah, I did an MRI. So,
Oh.
6:45. Sorry for a long day.
An MRI in Martinsville,
Yeah,
you couldn't get them here?
nope. I mean, they needed it done quickly, so they had me go
Oh,
up there
they
to get
are.
it done because there was no appointments until we took it.
Okay.
That's true. Oh, sure.
It was there or Bedford. It's like, I'm not sure which one's better, but.
By distance, I guess.
Well,
Yeah.
thank you for coming.
Oh, no problem. Yeah, I thought it would be, I thought it'd be out and have plenty of time to just kind of lollygag. Nope.
Is that the one where they slide you?
Yeah, and it's like.
And you can't move.
Yeah, you can't.
Yeah, I got it.
For like
I got
a
it.
hour.
Don't move.
Yeah, for a half hour.
Yeah.
And the whole time you're like, wait, I think I moved. Oh, no, I think I moved again. You know?
They usually ask if you have any metal. Yeah, I've got metal and I can't even take it off.
Well, this is on my left ankle and I have a plate and screws, so it's like,
Oh,
does
wow.
that work? You know?
Wow.
But, yeah, like it's organ.
Okay, well, I'd like to call this meeting to order. Pretend I'm Bob. Unless one of you wants to run it. Otherwise, I'm happy to.
I mean, if you prefer one of us, I can run it.
Sure.
Okay. Make it easier for you. All right, well, I'll call the order. 8:31. So first business is to approve the meeting minutes for May 31st.
I would ask that you table this because we don't have minutes.
Okay,
For
well,
the May 31st meeting. You didn't get to read them, so.
that's fine, so that. Do we have to vote for a table? No, we just table it. Okay.
I'm okay with that.
Alright, so now, open to public input, anything that's not on the agenda?
Someone has raised Zoom.
Or we could put some more white lines on the curve going to North Maple Grove from Arlington Road. Nice white lines. White lines.
Striping the road.
Right on the edge.
Or forward
How can
that
you
to
keep
Myla.
people from turning, coming from the west and turning left onto North Maple Grove from Arlington Road
Mhm.
and going into the southbound lane on North Maple Grove?
Yeah.
Can you put a barrier up there in the middle? Or spikes pointed from all directions?
I don't know if highway would be agreeable to that, but I will pass along your concerns on that intersection and you're welcome to.
It's a bad
go to the
intersection.
traffic commission meeting as well. Be a good venue for that discussion, so.
Yeah.
When are traffic commission meetings? That's okay. You can-
Thursday, I'm not sure which Thursday.
Okay, yeah, you can send it out.
Something like once a
Okay,
month. There are a lot of problems here in the city.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, hear no other public input except for some traffic concerns. So let's move on to business. We have the Pinnacle Business Park and the Calsters rentals,
Mhm.
so.
Yeah, so. I have just site plans for you today. It's been a busy summer for plan review. This one requires drainage board approval as, the conditions on the subdivision for Pinnacle Business Park. I have the map. So this project is located on the northwest side of Bloomington. The west of I-69, north. State Road 48 or West Third Street. This is the old, ABB property, Westinghouse, so there are contaminated soils throughout this, business development. We have a regional pond to the southeast property. And as part of this business park subdivision, we, required swales to be constructed that were sized to convey runoff from each of the lots. That project was completed, end of last year, beginning of this year. The construction permit, I believe, has been closed out or has been initiated for closeout. Swales have been completed. And we have the first major, development here. Now, this one, has actually, is developing 5 lots within this subdivision, so they've had a plat amendment to combine 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 lots, so the 16 acres is now one parcel, and this is the entire business development. From a drainage perspective, this one, was fairly simple, aside from the size, but it's simple because it doesn't have a lot of off-site drainage. And since these parcels were combined, we don't have to worry about discharging water onto another lot. We're gonna be discharging basically almost directly into the regional pond. So, I'll go to the site plan paper copy here of the grading plan. Paper copy, I'll pull up the plans and tell you a little bit about the development. So, if you still want, those are for the next one.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I just have one copy.
That's okay.
I'm gonna say paper. I'd like to note in the chat, thank you, Drew. He said the Monroe County Traffic Committee meetings are held every third Thursday at 2:30 p.m. at the Highway Garage. The next 3 are September 21st, October 19th, and November 16th.
There we go.
Okay,
Thank you, Drew.
I knew it was a Thursday. Okay, so that's the location information for this project. I'm gonna pull the packet back up and tell you a little bit more about it. Alright, so McAllister Rentals, this is, like I said, a 16-acre development. This entire property is being proposed for the McAllister Rentals business, so they will have, a office building. Sorry, an office building, storage building, equipment prep building, a fueling area. And then the rest of the site is going to be for equipment storage. So if you've seen the McAllisters, they have several locations throughout the state. You can see on the aerials, most of the property will be used for outdoor storage of equipment that they will rent out, sell, I'm not sure. So this entire area here is going to be, basically converted to impervious cover. Most of it will be asphalt millings that are compacted. And there is a small network of storm sewers to help with drainage through here. The most notable drainage comment is that they are encapsulating the existing swale that was going to be used to drain the 5 lots. Since they're combining them, they've encapsulated it and will be discharging into a riprap ditch that will be conveyed all the way to the regional pond here. This will be class 1 riprap. So. I have Katie Stein here, the design engineer for this. Unless you have any questions for me, I'll turn it over to Katie.
Thank you, Kelsey. I don't have anything to add, but I am certainly happy to answer any questions you guys may have. We've been working with McAllister on this for quite some time, so it's exciting to be at this stage of the project, and I know they're anxious to move their facility over here.
Where is the polluted soil?
Great question. On the flat, it's mostly the area on the east portion of the property. So these are required to be under a clay cap. And so any disturbance in this area will be overseen by Troy Risk, I believe, is the environmental consultant who will be on site during construction. Is the same company that oversaw construction of the swales for the development, so they're very familiar with the site. And the majority of it will be filling on top of it. So, don't think we expect too much excavation in the affected area itself.
No, we do not, and as you mentioned, Troy Brisk is contracted with through McAllister, so they will be overseeing operations in this affected soil area.
Does any of that drainage go into the pond?
I guess I don't quite understand, I mean, they'll be run over those areas, but polluted soil, no, it'll all be underneath the cap.
Mhm.
And that's gonna be used for equipment storage, correct?
Correct.
And none of this equipment storage is like tilling tools or things that could potentially dig into the soil when dropped.
I don't know, I cannot answer that.
That'd be my only
think it's
concern,
cool.
is just potential disturbance of that cap by potential, equipment. I mean, they're like other utility equipment, there's a lot of
Is this
backhoes and other
asphalt
things that,
or
if they drop it,
asphalt mill?
potentially
Okay.
pierce that
Yeah, so
plate.
it'll be.
Yeah, but I mean, there's gonna be a foot, a minimum of a
A
foot,
foot.
yeah, but we are filling the majority of
And then
the
there-
site, so it'll be probably even more of a cap.
So they're putting an
than just
extra.
1 foot.
Does any side drainage go under
Mhm.
and go through? That you know of? Or you can. That's what would concern me, not
I think.
from the surface, but
Mhm.
from flowage in the subsurface,
Oh, that I
in
don't.
the soil.
I didn't see any water in the swales. They were always dry when I went out there, so I don't see too much groundwater. If anything, to the east, there's a larger stream to the east, farther upstream from here. As far as this site goes, we're reducing infiltration. And like I said, I didn't see any evidence of like permanent, spring or groundwater presence
Are they
when I was out there.
monitoring the pond? Is that,
As of right now, I don't know of any required monitor for this.
Because that would be ready. That's right. That's
Yeah.
what that would concern me. Where does the drainage go from the pond? If it's polluted, if it gets polluted, where does the drainage go from the pond?
that's a good question.
There's two more
There's an-
ponds downstream, south of Jonathan Drive, I believe, as well.
Yeah, so this is the regional pond, and this is another wetlandy area.
Yeah,
Good status of that.
Yeah.
And then it will drain south, it's in the Sinking Creek.
yeah.
Of course,
watershed.
Sinking Creek.
It's in Sinking Creek watershed.
I wouldn't be too concerned with water moving through the soils. This is primarily a less capped area, so a lot of silt. So there's probably not a lot of ability for water to be moving subsurface,
Mhm.
and except for deeper into the karst.
Okay,
Did you guys have to get a permit to, I don't know how long the open swale was to encapsulate it from IDEM?
The only,
No, I was saying.
the only jurisdictional waters were to the east, so this stream right here, I believe.
So even this being the swale it was man-made, right? But did they consider it jurisdictional? Just out of curiosity.
For previous BOTUS regulations, this right here, it does look like more of a natural channel along here. And so I believe that's why they considered it jurisdictional.
Okay,
So, but fairly confident, this one has no other connectivity. It's really man-made.
yeah.
Didn't see any
Well,
other
they said if it has
characteristics.
a defined bed and bank,
Yeah.
then all of a sudden there's a.
Yeah, it's very much prior disturbed man-made to me, this one here.
So will there be inlets in the area that is adjacent to the storage? And the contaminated soil storage backlot? Are there inlets in that area?
There are manholes, but not inlets within the affected soil area. So the inlets are all on the west side of the main building and then the west side of the storage buildings. And then the storm pipe will go through that existing swale. It'll be covered, encapsulated, and then one manhole structure within that affected soil area.
Did you, wait, so. I may have missed something you said, no, that's all right. Did you say there was going to be a swale above above the?
No, it's going to be placed within the existing swale.
Okay.
The swale's gonna go away.
So how drainage from where the equipment will be sitting, which potentially would have, you know, greases, oils, VOCs, all that sort of thing. And there's no inlet in that general vicinity, how is that drainage going to get into the buried conduit?
That stuff's not, that will be sheet draining back into the swales, the north-south swale that Kelsey was just talking about. The other areas it will get into the inlets and the drains. Yeah.
Let's quote it here.
Yeah, except for anything
Well, this,
over on it,
so this draw is going to that inlet,
so it'll
and that one goes, it just sheet flows across.
it'll be all directed this way.
Yeah, where, and then stormwater quality treatment,
It's within the regional commission. That was part of the Pinnacle business, subdivision approval.
okay,
All that.
So the pond actually serves as a,
Yeah, the site will have an SPCC plan as well, so there will be procedural measures in place for reducing the potential for discharge of any petroleum products. So that hasn't been finished yet, I don't
No,
think.
That would be just containment of the fuel storage, that sort of thing, right? No, will anything be covered on this kind of open area where equipment would be stored?
Will anything be covered? I'm sorry,
In the SPCC plan?
that I don't know.
Motel
Tribris is
fuel tanks are
also
not
leading
part of
that.
it. Yeah. So unless you have a fuel tank that's mounted on a bit of a truck or something, any of the motel fuel tanks, just part of a piece of equipment is not counted towards the,
Yeah.
state, so. But we could require things like drip pans. Or put under the pieces of equipment if there is signs of like leaks or
oh,
things to
yeah,
capture
that
that,
could be part of the program.
yeah.
Yeah, because hydraulic fluids, all that stuff that comes on that equipment.
Mhm. Yeah.
All those big equipment leaking like crazy.
Yeah, right, that's
Okay.
right, and then they'll leak onto a cap, which is impermeable, right? So it all will sheet flow.
Yeah.
To
To the pond.
the pond,
So the pond gets.
and the pond, yeah. And the pond's
Ah,
there
just
to
never
deal
thought.
with the VOCs and all that, I mean, VOCs and ponds don't mix very well, so how, you know, I don't know what kind of quality of that pond, if there's no forebay on it, there's no.
Are they gonna have that tested from time to time?
There's no requirement that I know of, I can look into the conditions some more, but.
Yeah, normally I would say, oh, we're buffering, but there's, because of the contaminated soil in the cap, you don't really want to put in deep rooted vegetation for fear of, compromising that cap. What about other technologies like, they have those. I can't think of what they're called. Like buffer, no, they're not buffer, they're, tubes that are filled with, like mushroom compost or something like that, that can help take VOCs, but they're basically like, the coconut rolls,
bloom
but
bar
they're.
stuff.
Yeah. What about some of those sorts of technologies just to put at the edge, just to be that kind of, to contain the sheet flow, to do a minimal treatment before entering the pond, even though I know the pond's there for treatment, it just would be that kind of extra protection.
There's no way to contain a spill.
Yeah, right.
I could ask
Could that be
for
put in?
spill kits that have like booms and other materials that can capture things like hydraulic fluids and. So
These
that's.
are more like, I don't wanna say permanent installation, but they're, I mean, they're for installation during construction when there is the threat of hydraulics and oils and things like that on a, it's kind of like a silk fence, but it's not a silk fence. It's a roll, but it's contained with
Yeah,
like a compost material that could uptake those hydrocarbons.
okay,
What is it? It absorbs it?
Yeah, it allows water to move through, but then it absorbs the VOCs.
I would also like to maybe ask McAllister, I don't believe any of them are on here, they're obviously a nationwide operation and.
Right.
Items like this, I'm sure have been brought up and they probably have means and measures on handling all of this. I'm just not aware of what their operations are and anything like that, or things such as equipment, leaking of fuel through their equipment, and things like that.
Yeah, cause it would all dissolve. These are, you said they were asphalt millings, so that'll just dissolve it almost, you know, like diesel fuel.
Mm,
Just turns the asphalt into gravel. When you wash all your equipment, tools and stuff with it.
Hmm.
And hydraulic would be about the same. They must have I would think they've got some sort of plan, but
Curious to see what they do at other facilities.
Yeah,
Give
and I know
information on
that the asphalt millings was definitely something they really wanted to use that in a lot of their,
just so.
facilities, yeah, I believe up in Michigan has been the latest one, put across, yeah. they Really want to use those.
Yeah, and that would probably protect a little bit more against that gouging that I was
Yeah.
concerned about. I missed the asphalt.
It's whatever, it should harden over time,
Yeah,
but.
but yeah,
On the south side, we asked them to put in a small berm to make sure that all the runoff is contained and directed to the regional pond and not going onto the neighboring property. What if, we also asked for a small earthen berm on this side, almost like a little levee to divert flow to a single area, that way, no, okay.
yeah, SHPO actually will be a better treatment
Okay,
than concentrated, so.
Mhm.
Yeah, like I said, I normally would just suggest, okay, buffer
Yeah,
along that stream edge, but in this case, it's just a hard. You don't have that capabilities of installing a buffer in a
There
traditional
will be
sense. like
plantings
19
around the outside of the perimeter of this too, that's a planting requirement.
So so there's a planting requirement over the contaminated soil area? But can you go back to the contaminated soil?
Well, that's kind of to meet the landscape
Yes.
requirement,
Yeah.
the county's
Yep.
landscape requirement, all have landscaping.
yeah. Yeah.
There's trees and stuff there right now.
Yeah.
Oh, is there?
I mean, I think it's like crap.
I know.
but-
And this all complies with the site soils management plan that is item approved.
That is all on Troy Risk.
Okay,
So however they're handling that.
okay. It has Troy Risk. So Troy Risk has reviewed this plan for compliance with the soils management plan.
I don't know. They have our plans, they're preparing the plans.
Okay. Maybe just a verification from them, especially for landscaping and things that they're okay with. The. Any potential impacts to the capped area or any affected soil. Okay.
We do
Yeah.
have planning online. I'm curious if they wanted to weigh in
Mhm.
on this discussion.
Yeah, I think Sean Smith is also one of the attendees. Oh, and Daniel Brown, sorry, Daniel has this one. He has his hand raised. But I just put two things in the chat that I would just bring up is that in addition to this site plan, they're also doing a plat amendment and they're going to be reducing the area devoted to drainage easement because they are burying that swale line pipe. And then just a note on one of the properties about there was a discussion about sheet draining to the east, I believe, and there will be a fence that surrounds this entire area. So just 2 points that I wanted to bring up, but if Daniel wants to speak more to the site plan, he can. So that's all I have.
Fence is just being linked, right?
Mhm.
I'm sorry, Daniel.
It's all right. I don't think there's really anything that hasn't already been gone over that I can really add to. We do have 3 commercial building permits for these that are on hold until drainage board approval is obtained, so we can proceed with the site plan approval.
Yes, my takeaway is that pond is kind of what's supposed to, yeah, the linchpin to all this, right? Speaking of,
Good morning.
is there any way to ask for frequent monitoring of that pond?
I think outside of the site plan review, that's something we can discuss with the business association.
Okay, so.
And I probably it should have been brought up when this
a long time
subdivision
ago,
first
yeah.
came around. So let me talk to planning about the conditions on the business association.
And they're capping, or not capping, I guess, covering this drainage area.
Mhm.
I heard that, UVAs are actually not that bad for some of these drainage areas to have exposure to the sun. Maybe not in this particular case, but I was just wondering what people's thoughts were on that. It's probably best just to have it covered. But yeah, again, it seems like that pond is in threat if there's no one
Yeah.
to monitor that, and that looks like that then just serves as the catalyst to polluting downstreams. Moving downstream,
Yeah, so
and
especially.
especially into Sinking Creek or sinking, yeah, is it speaking,
Speaking of ultraviolet light,
yeah,
if you put milk in paper container, it keeps out the ultraviolet light and it'll last for a whole month. The Blooming Foods Co-op sells all their milk in paper containers. And Kroger sells it in glass containers and they don't last as half as long. Because ultraviolet light gets through glass or plastic even. Paper keeps the ultraviolet light out. And it allows things to last longer.
I did not know that.
They said that there was gonna be a fence put around it,
Yes.
but there was gonna be somebody on site kind of monitoring the soil disturbance in this area.
Mhm.
So I'm assuming that they'll be able to comment on that fence installation as
Mhm.
well, if it compromises anything.
Yeah, and I hope to have them at the pre-construction meeting as well, so we can talk about all this.
I just have one other comment. I just feel like the whole site itself, we should have done something to restrict the potential of having more pollutants in this particular area for a longer period of time. It just seems like we're compounding the issue by having potential storage of vehicles that could have issues with.
But that's a planning department issue.
I know, I just wanted
Deal with
to,
it.
I'll make the
Or-
comment there too.
Or if they're gonna use the site for potential more contaminants, have a better treatment
Mhm.
train of practices in
Yeah.
place to address those, so.
And I'm really curious about those practices as this moves forward. Hence, everyone now on video, I'm looking at Katie.
So when you apply for your SWIP, how did you address the post-construction stormwater quality? Just it's addressed by the downstream.
Downstream, yeah.
Okay.
That original plan.
And then the SPCC plan as well.
Yeah.
Okay. There's not much we can really.
I can't enforce an SPCC plan.
Yeah.
So, unless we have
Well,
evidence of an illicit discharge.
I guess I'd make a motion to approve.
We have a motion on the table.
Pardon?
Do you wanna make a second?
I'll second, yes.
All right,
So there's no way to condition that pond being monitored. or
I don't feel comfortable tying it to the specific site plan.
versus the whole thing? Like, I mean, do we want to ensure that that discussion occurs or anything like that? Maybe not make a condition that's monitored, but
Can
they,
be brought up at the plan commission meeting.
well, I mean, this is gonna move forward, so you could potentially, ask
Well,
planning to look into it or something to that effect.
Mhm.
I would like to know more information on it, and if we make a vote now, then we might be losing some of the opportunity to kind of really solidify that discussion occurring, or, sorry, Jackie, I know you're trying to jump in, or requiring it even. Go ahead.
I was just saying, I was pulling up the O and M manual that's been executed as part of the subdivision, and Katie Stein would probably be able to speak to it as well, but it does say that the owner is required to do quarterly inspections of all stormwater facilities. And the pond that this is draining to is denoted as a treatment pond. So I can look back through the files. This was from 2019, but I do believe there was a hard look at the pond, and this area is zoned general industrial, so I think that there was some consideration given to the types of uses that would be going in following the subdivision. So I can send you I can send anyone the O and M manual if they're interested, or send it to Kelsey and she can pass it on. I'm sure Kelsey, you also have it too. But
Yeah, it's gotta have something in there for sediment removal and all kinds of things.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
4 years ago, I should be able to remember
I wrote it and I don't remember it.
that.
Your assignment is to come back and recite it.
I remember reading it during the site plan review, and it was very standard.
Yeah,
You get the
that's what I
inspections
recall
and
too.
maintenance items for like any other pond, so.
So we have a first and a second and a comment about the, the treatment of that pond and kind of overlook on that. Is there any other comments? So do a roll call. Bill,
Yes.
Ed,
Yes.
and yes.
Okay. All right. Thank you all.
No, I go to two.
Okay, okay, I messed up the order of things here. I have two other site plan reviews. The next, one of them is with, Katie as well. And, Tammy and Randy here, so I'm wondering if we can do that one next. It's the Joseph Green PUD, CI and L Clear Creek.
Well, we looked at this.
Yeah, you've seen this one before.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was. Well, I wasn't sure if it needed a vote or not, but you're welcome to.
Well, is it the church? No.
No, this is.
It's this really linear site.
Mhm. Okay. Alright, so this one's on the south side of town, on South Rogers Street and that road. Okay, where am I? There's. So. Alright. So this linear property here, just west of the Southern Meadows major subdivision, Rogers Street and that road, this is the Bloomington Rail Trail. So we were looking at development of this property here, we have two. This is here, so this is a PUD. We've seen, a plan here before that we reviewed, and Terry Coleman did the review a couple years ago. And, we're looking at another amendment, and this one's a little bit simpler there. So we have floodplain on this property. There's floodplain on the property, but the development itself, what we're looking at is for the most part outside of the floodplain. This wooded area here is the floodplain. The only thing we're looking at here is to do a simple walking trail, invasives removal. So no actual, in my opinion, like major development or land disturbing activity happening here aside from putting in a walking trail. Most of the development will be outside the floodplain, south and south part of the property. So this will be done in phases. So right now we're just looking at development of this property, this parcel here on the south side. There will be two buildings going in. One is a commercial and a single unit residential. So it's a mixed use building. The other one will be a 15-unit residential building. Parking areas and a detention pond. So, majority of the southern part will be draining south here. So one of the things that we've been discussing most recently is the outlet for this project and what that's going to look like. For that.
Says the karst report is not completed.
We didn't do one, didn't see any evidence of sinkholes. It was, right now it's a gravel parking lot.
I think that might be, it's the one before this.
Yeah.
There's nothing there.
And I could have messed up my printing.
Maybe we didn't.
I think it,
Alright. Yeah, in the packet, it's just
Yeah.
the write-up.
okay, yeah,
Oh,
yeah, thank you.
In the packet from today.
Yes, I
not the
didn't
one
get
you
one.
sent.
Sorry, I know.
When you.
It was on the one you sent.
Yeah, so there
Yeah.
was a, here it is.
Yeah.
In no, it's not, so.
yeah,
Mhm.
I didn't have it in this one.
Okay, so this is the southern portion of the site, north is to the right, so it's turned. So majority of this will be draining, south towards a new detention pond. The northern portion here, so this is the intersection of Rogers Street and that road. For reference, this will be a little, small area draining, towards that road that doesn't have detention, but the majority of the site, the size of this driveway here. See storm inlets, all the parking areas will all be going to the detention pond. A small area of permeable pavers here, they'll also go to the detention pond. So, again, that, this pond has outlet structure here that'll discharge to new storm sewer on South Rogers Street. I'll talk about that in a second. Emergency overflow to an existing swim here. And then this berm here will separate this from the property to the east on the meadows that also has a very large detention pond just upstream from this. So this pond has a large CBU sewer main on this portion here, which we try not to do due to the spatial constraints on the site. The engineer designed this as the most feasible and efficient manner to meet all the requirements. This pond does meet the critical drainage release rate, so it is a fairly large pond. We will have an area of amended soils for water quality treatment outside of the sanitary sewer easement. There is an encroachment agreement between the property owner and CBU stating that CBU has the authority to go in and use their easement as needed, but the property owner has a responsibility to put this back essentially, as it was designed. And we also have the O&M manual in our post-construction ordinance to ensure that it will be put back as designed. So trying to reduce the amount of infiltration around the sanitary line. So CBU has requested impervious liner over their portion of the pond with their sanitary sewer. Kate and I, we just met yesterday, we're talking about exactly what that's going to look like because we don't frequently use impervious liners in ponds. And personally, I think it would be a maintenance concern, maintenance issue. So we want to make sure that this is meeting everyone's requirements, but also not being a maintenance burden on the property owner for the future. I don't anticipate CBU needing to go in and dig up their sewer line anytime soon, but when it does happen, maybe 20 years down the road, or if something goes wrong, we'll know what to do. So. So yeah. Then I'll talk about offsite. So this will actually will be draining to the south. We have 2 new inlets on South Rogers Street. A couple remaining items to try and figure out here in terms of what this is going to look like. But it will be draining along here, and then the county has an existing culvert under the road that discharges past these houses to a ditch along here. So this is the proposed route. This is same route that the retention pond from Southern Meadows is taking as well. So this pond, large pond right here. So this pond over here, this is a large pond from Southern Meadows. There's an existing swale here. That'll discharge to this culvert as well. These houses are right up against the floodplain. I already know about, drainage concerns for homes so close to the floodplain. But not ideal, but hopefully with the size of the pond meeting critical drainage release rates for almost all rain events, hopefully this will actually help some of the drainage in this area. Any comments? I can pass this to Katie.
Does that go south, the drainage goes south of the Monroe Reservoir?
Correct.
Not into Reservoir, no, okay,
All of this, all the city's drainage goes south of the dam.
okay.
This is the floodplain layer. You can see this northern part here where the walking trail will be. That's all floodplain, land department, Tammy, the floodplain administrator, handling permitting for that. And then this property here, outside of the floodplain.
Do you want to zoom in to kind of where you're talking about the existing
Yes.
culvert or inlet, and then draining to the little ditch swale?
Mhm.
I mean, with that floodplain layer on, you don't have to turn it back on. Some of that houses, I mean, it's not exact, but it looks like some of the houses incorporated it. Definitely their accessory dwelling or structures in the back.
Mhm.
My real question is that everything appropriately sized to not have any significant impacts as the water moves south and to the creek?
That is a good question. Yeah, so I will just disclose, we had another engineer in our firm that did the majority of these calculations. I know the brief overall view on it. He's no longer with our firm, so I'm taking over this project. So this is an area that Kelsey and I had talked about. So I believe it's a 36-inch pipe underneath that. I think that still, whether our survey crews pick that up or we get information from highway, I would like to look at this in person and kind of look what's going there. I would have to look through the drainage calculations to see if there had been some downstream calculations done for this pipe. I mean, in theory, the big picture on this, this is handling the runoff that is coming from Southern Meadows and Develop, coming from CINL, and taking on the runoff from Rogers Road. So in theory, if we are releasing or lower rates than what is coming off those sites now, then we should be okay. But there's definitely some few details that we're still working out on our side to make that determination.
Yeah, I think that's very important to understand. Because that's a lot of water to be taken on 3 different areas, more or less. Probably all the other natural drainage that occurs too.
And we've got,
I would be very curious if that culvert inlet, what did you refer to as a culvert, right?
Culvert.
If it's cleaned, how has that been maintained?
Is
Yeah,
it,
this is the
Looks better
swale
if I
through
heard
the
some-
woods.
is it highway department's jurisdiction? So we can,
Yeah. A lot of, general maintenance is either complaint based, or if something goes wrong, they'll fix it. The only complaint I've received is more about this ditch here being cleaned out, but that's well outside the right of way.
Yeah, can I ask a question about that ditch? Because it is in a special flood hazard area, is there plans to get permits for that part? I don't think that any disturbance in that area has any permits associated with it. I
This
have like
project-
5 permits in this area for floodplain development, but I don't think that one's ever been captured.
This project was not proposing any work in the floodplain in this area.
Okay,
What did Southern Meadows do when they talked about using this as a drainage route, I guess?
Meadows was approved in 2019, I believe.
So do we even really look at this in that type of detail?
Terry Coleman did the review on it. He didn't bring every single site plan to the drainage board. So,
Cause I feel like I would have had that question
yeah.
then,
Mhm.
and. I mean,
Mhm.
now we're looking at another site, it would have been
Mhm.
nice to. Been able to bring this up during the first site as well,
Mhm.
cause I know there was. Offsite improvements with Southern Meadows.
Yeah.
With Rogers Road,
Well, I know Terry did look at adequacy of the downstream receiving area and will. In general, we leave it on the design engineer to demonstrate that it is adequate, either by doing, additional surveying or calculations. And if they can't demonstrate that it's adequate, then we can choose to, do additional work to make sure that the water is going to be making it to the next major stream or ditch.
yeah, I guess my. Thought or comment is, if it's not adequate, we should have been looking at this when Southern Meadows came through. And not necessarily put it on the back of this petitioner versus kind of a shared kind of burden, if you will. Yeah, very interesting. Yeah, that whole area I think is very vulnerable and. Need to make sure that we don't cause any adverse impact kind of downstream on these homes.
I mean, from my perspective, I mean, if we were to have a large flood event. They're in the floodplain for Clear Creek, which drains 2/3 of the city of Bloomington. So in terms of the issues with flooding in this area, this is just a very small portion of the troubles here. If you're talking about floodplain and a major 100-year event. But not saying, I definitely don't want to make it worse. I don't want to make it worse.
Well, just a malfunction or just water pooling up and not draining quick enough,
Yeah.
all of that could occur as much as a storm event or flood.
Yeah.
And we're getting 1,000-year events on occasion.
Yeah, it sounds like the emergency overflow and the outlet structure both draining to that same area, so that is a real concern. If something does happen,
It's all going.
no matter what, it can't get,
Mhm.
cause a problem.
Mhm.
Is there a foot of freeboard on that overflow or?
I would have to look, I'm sorry, I don't.
No, it's okay. Can't.
Yeah, but I mean, I really like the fact that it's reducing the release rates to better than what exists now. I mean, I think that's a really good thing to try and reduce the impact moving forward. And this is one way of doing that.
Yeah.
So,
Yep, exactly.
I don't know if we can have highway size that culvert and ensure its capacity or something like that, but I don't think the onus should be on the property owner upstream. It's, that's a highway issue, so. But knowing that there's two really large detention ponds draining to it, that's the capacity of that culvert to be able to move that water is a lot of important, so. But like I said, I really enjoy the fact that they're reducing the discharge rates. Yeah. It's a good thing.
Yeah.
Do we have funds for upsizing pipes and?
Mhm. Yeah.
So we can do, I mean, we're allowing this to take place essentially.
Mhm.
Right.
Yep.
I mean, if the highway department can't,
Yeah, we have funding for studies and replacement. Trying to save money for Stibb Road and Moose Creek Road
yeah,
to get that project done. It's gonna be several $1,000,000. But I do budget money every single year for design.
Well, we pay a stormwater fee,
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah.
so some of that should be
Mhm.
able to be used for that.
We actually have our budget hearing tonight, if anyone's interested. So.
Another.
But yes, I don't see an issue with doing that. To me, the only issue is finding time for me to take on a project, another project like
Yeah,
that, but.
well, I was just thinking if Katie goes back and does her analysis, finds out that, I don't know, if the 30 or 36 inch pipe, if it needs to be lumped up to a 48.
Yeah,
I don't know how long the culvert is.
I don't know if there'd be enough cover.
Yeah.
But it'd be kind of,
I'd also be interested
Or
to
it's
see
flash pipe.
if the capacity. How much those permeable pavers are reducing the capacity necessary. Because I do not have faith in the long-term
I don't.
functionality of permeable pavers. No, you're all right.
No, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, but yeah, I don't believe those, the impervious pavers are being counted towards any volume or anything like that from the detention runoff standpoint. Cause I think I share those concerns with you as well on a maintenance standpoint on those, so we typically do not reduce our coefficients, because of those pavers.
Okay,
They're great when you first put them in and
Right.
everything, and then about a year or so, unless they're really, really.
really
big,
well maintained.
which is possible.
Yeah.
it's possible.
Well, and if there's a place for the water to go in the subsurface, that's the other issue
Yes,
too,
so
right?
there are there are underdrains under the pavers as well that will discharge. some
Okay.
detention pond.
All right,
Yeah,
okay, all right, so yeah, so it's built.
And I believe
Okay.
they also sheet drain into the detention pond, so they're not, there's no curb or storm sewer, I guess, within it's all sheet drain into the detention pond.
yeah, that kind of looks like, may have a band of concrete around it.
Along the edge, yes.
Okay, so,
And the concern with the liner, because it's
Yeah.
impermeable, any major, I mean, what's your major concern, just maintenance and the longevity of a system
Yeah.
like that?
Yeah, they originally had it designed to go under the amended soils area and under drain. I included the original detail in here, but Katie's gonna go back and just kind of put more, information in this detail, change it a little bit. I just asked that the liner not be under here. It's an area where we're supposed to be promoting infiltration. And
is that a CDU thing?
yes, CBU requested that about talking to me. So then at this point, later on in the design, saying, okay, and want to evaluate this.
Gasketed pipe, I don't know how that'd be worried about infiltration, plus it's bedded in 11s.
Yeah.
And
I mean,
it's deep. Yeah.
I went around and around, well, I went around and around with that whole idea on a different project.
Yeah, we're not crazy about it, I will say that, but we are trying to appease, city utilities, so they were agreeable. Through conversation with them, to only have it over their, say, within their,
Yeah,
in the pond.
I just worry about, and this is nice and flat, I just worry about the soil. You know,
Yeah.
sliding off the
Thank you.
surface, and it's just turf, right? I mean, you'd have some sort of grass
Yeah, that'll be stabilized with that, yeah.
without fescue.
Yeah.
Okay, no, I should just be quiet, okay.
That's my go. So are you asking for action? I don't see an asterisk.
So typically I would bring a site plan to you in just the preliminary phase and we're just saying, okay, we're gonna provide detention, critical release rates, we're gonna make sure we demonstrate adequate outlet, like any other conditions we want to put on it and approve it. This one's a bit farther along. Like I said, I've had a few come in this summer and then meetings were canceled. I wasn't available for some of the summer, so we're at the ending phase here. So you can vote on it in general, just to say the design of the detention is there appropriate. And then if any other, if you want us to look into that culvert, I
Yeah,
can.
that's kind of where I was going, like, see if, Katie's able to report back and you're comfortable with it, I think is very crucial, because last thing I would want to see is some ponding up going on in the back of those houses where that swell is. I don't want to throw the burden on petitioners, but I do think we need to make sure that that sizing is correct with the culvert, especially since it's going to be dealing with three potential kind of runoff, the Rogers, Southern Meadows, and I need to come up with a cooler name, CL and I or CI and L.
Okay,
So is that Clear Creek right there?
Yeah, it's just the Clear Creek flood. Well, it's probably over along the
Behind the
edge of
houses.
the film.
it's along the
No, I
road.
mean,
so-
the Clear Creek community,
Oh,
Oh, this is Clear Creek Community.
Yeah, it is.
the post office is there.
Yep,
Yeah.
post office is right there.
So the sizing is not right. This would most likely potentially be like a right of way project, kind of
I would,
on the
I,
county, possibly.
I could take it on as one of mine and do the construction.
I mean, we're this far down, it seems like if we didn't address this almost a year ago, I can't even remember when these first showed up. I feel like that's a burden that we would need to take on due to the fact of not identifying it prior.
Right, we've had an approved
Yeah,
drainage plan already for our site here, so.
I didn't know it was draining down that way, and if it was, it never was shown, so thank you.
I think we had it going into the swale previously. But they've decided to run storm sewers along Rogers Street for this specific pond instead. And I just wonder if it's because of the private property here. I'm not sure.
Not sure either.
Okay,
well,
Would you like a vote?
sure.
okay. I'll make a motion to approve the development plan or the drainage plan for this development with the condition that that Katie finalizes the review of the existing infrastructure, downstream infrastructure to ensure it is adequate.
Second,
Comments? All right, should we do roll call, Ted,
Oh, Jim.
or Jim, sorry.
yeah,
Did that earlier, sorry, Jim, yes,
yes.
Bill.
Yeah,
yes.
That's all right, I have
problems with Yes. That's all right, I was hearing
Thank you.
permeable and impermeable, I've been all morning like, okay, need to get this thing straight, yeah, that's right, that's exactly what's going on.
More MRI.
Yeah.
Jackhammers in the background.
All right, so the last one is, Hiking Properties. This one's very similar to the Center Supply Company that you heard on, in January of this year. So thank you, Katie, and thank you, Katie, for attending. So I'm switching gears for another time.
This is, yeah, they're absolutely,
We have Daniel Butler on for this, discussion, so.
see you guys.
Okay, so this project is located, on the northwest corner of Bloomington again, this is upstream from Pinnacle Business Park, west of I-69. This is West 17th Street or Vernal Pike, down here. So Highway Department has a, plan to connect Vernal Pike to Profile Parkway down here. So you saw the same discussion with Central Supply Company. Now we're dealing with this property to the west, High Tink, property.
Yeah, gotcha.
So, as a result of the roadway extension through here over the railroad tracks, these properties are reconfiguring their driveways and parking areas. So here's the property here. So they already have parking driveway entrance here. They'll be reconfiguring it and adding in a detention pond in the northwest corner of the property here. Pond will drain down through an existing riprap channel on the west side of the property, south to the culvert under the railroad, just as Central Supply Company is doing as well, draining down here.
Can you remind me, did somebody ensure that there actually was a culvert under that and that it would have?
I haven't walked it myself.
That there's capacity, yeah.
Yeah, I'm not sure of its capacity. But our project has not really started yet.
Okay.
So I'm definitely with our project when we're down there. I hope to go down and take a look. Honestly, I don't think we have any power to change what's under the railroad. It would be very difficult to get the railroad to change their culvert.
Yeah,
So,
well, I just want to ensure that there is one, right? That was, I think, the big
yeah.
question.
And I think Daniel Butler, he did the design for Central Supply as well. I'll let him talk
Oh,
on
sure.
that. He may have some
Yeah,
info.
yeah.
So in general, this one is basically, I'm about done with the review on this one again. This one's quite far along. So they have additional parking. They'll have a pond meeting critical drainage release rates. It is in the Sinking Creek watershed. So basically same situation as Central Supply across the street. I did have some concerns with the original site plan. I'll scroll down to it. From Daniel about the riprap channel that's existing here. And so just yesterday, he got me more spot grades for this riprap ditch because these current topo lines weren't showing a defined channel to me. So as for that information, he got that to me just yesterday.
It's
So I didn't,
existing,
yes, an existing ditch.
kind of hard to topo riprap.
Yeah, so we got that additional information on that. My goal is to protect the homes to the west, making sure that this isn't just gonna spill over onto that property.
Oh,
So, he provided me, and I just haven't had a chance to review it yet, but he provided me with, additional grades for the ditch to show that it's a defined channel, as well as some calculations to show that it's adequate. So that's what I needed. Here's the additional parking that's going in, existing buildings. Here, reconfigure driveway. Couple storm sewer, but mostly curb cuts and sheet flow. Curb cuts to the pond, and then a little outlet to the surf rack here.
so that's the pond right there.
Yes.
The pond has under drain treatment, is that the proposed treatment?
Yeah,
Yeah, fine.
And we're just,
fire retention.
we only have to detain the additional pavement.
This is treating the entire project area, which is what I've been asking for any projects. Not the entire property, which I know City of Bloomington has been doing for the existing buildings and all that. I'm just looking for their project area right now, that I haven't asked for anything more than that.
No, that's fine.
Trying to find a happy medium between what City of Bloomington is doing, versus, I feel like if you're completely redeveloping the site and tearing out old parking or just, yeah. At least give me detention on your project area if there isn't already detention there, that's what I'm asking.
What's the other grade cap on the. Sorry, just,
The other-
sorry, I got mine
Oh, this-
situated
I
correct.
think that's a
but-
small building expansion,
Okay, that is the expansion.
I
Okay.
believe, so Daniel can.
Like a
can handle it.
It doesn't. Doesn't have any, I guess I could look for, a key, here we go. There's
This
one
isn't
right
the
now.
entire plan set either, I just took out a few
Water
pages.
quality pond. Soil mixture limits, sorry, I'm reading it at 90 degrees. That's on the legend, it has that gray, but that might be, it's behind your comments.
Yeah, I can
Is
ask
that-
Daniel to clarify that for you.
I think that was a new loading dock area.
Okay, it just really, the shade of gray looks closer to the legend than the other shade of
Yeah.
gray that says pond.
Yeah, that's
Come
not, that's
on.
not another
Have to
pond.
apply the SW.
Yeah, let's,
It's got a little SW there.
yeah, or just have a, maybe
A different
better
patch or
distinction,
something?
like gray
Stippled-
shade.
Stippled
Okay.
concrete.
So.
So it's just that parking, I guess, to your left here, which would be to the north on the other side.
Mhm.
And then that potential loading area is only new elements to what I'm
There-
seeing.
It does say that there's a gravel lot, temporary gravel lot that's to be paved, is that
Mhm.
calculated towards the
No,
total?
that is not, that's outside.
This new area.
This piece,
Mhm.
Mhm.
That's new pavement too, that's not.
temporary gravel area to be paved. 15 to 20 concrete.
Do you want me to have Daniel talk?
Yeah. Well,
Daniel Butler. After to unmute.
You have to give it permission.
I'm not a host, so I don't know if I can. TSD, could you please allow Daniel Butler to be unmuted? We can make him a panelist, that'd be fine too. But there is. Okay. Hey Daniel, we're ready for you. If you can speak on the hiking project.
He checked out.
No,
He's not there.
we promoted him.
Oh, there he is.
To be fair, it's been over an hour.
May had to go to the bathroom.
Kelsey, you'll probably also have to unmute the number that ends in 8030. That's Daniel's audio.
Oh, okay. Tech services, could you, Hey, Daniel, I think you can unmute your phone now.
You're
Hey, this
unmuted.
is Daniel.
Hi, Daniel, thank you so much. Figured it out.
Figured it out. Sorry, my phone cut out for the last minute or two. Sorry, is there any questions that you want me to answer?
Yeah, the main discussion right now, there are some areas of, new impervious surface proposed. Confirming that these areas are not draining to the proposed pond, so there'll be no detention for, the gravel area that's being turned into concrete, and then I think there's a small building addition or loading dock area that is not draining to the pond as well, is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct. So there's about half of the existing building, plus there's an existing building to the north that's is now all being treated, plus all the existing parking lot that was not treated before, plus the new parking lot, they'll all be treated as well. So there's a lot of existing areas that were not treated previously that'll all be running to our new pond. And then there'll also be parts of the site that were previously not treated that will remain untreated.
I had your drainage basin map to pull up. I don't have it here, but.
So these new areas are gonna be untreated, I guess. They just-
Well, that's what he said.
Just
Yeah.
the gravel to.
It would go
Right.
across grass, right?
yeah, I mean,
Previously, we wouldn't require existing areas to be treated. Like I said, I've started asking for your entire project area to now be treated, which is a change from how the county was doing it before. Not as stringent as the city asking for the entire property to be treated regardless of whether or not it's part of your project. I think that was a fair compromise for now, and then we can always change it if the board wishes to change the regulations.
I'm just curious how this isn't
Mhm.
a new project area.
The entire property?
No, the gravel area that's to be paved and the loading.
Yeah.
I mean, that's new, right?
Well,
So
We have areas here
you
that
don't
are
understand
being,
the discretion between
yeah,
what you consider new project area
Yeah.
and
this is
the new-
part of project area, that's correct, but we also have existing areas that I previously would have let go that are being detained now. So it's,
So we're talking about, is it treating or detaining?
sorry,
So-
I've been using treatment and
Yeah.
detain interchangeably, and that's incorrect.
But it's,
Talking about
we're
detention,
compensating, we're detaining
Mhm.
more of this and letting this just
Yeah.
run off.
Well, this is already paved, so that's,
yeah, it's
Yeah.
all,
that doesn't really change anything, but this one definitely
And it
adds.
looks like it goes,
I would treat
it either
gravel.
goes this way. Or it's
Mhm.
sheet flowing 85, I'm trying to get these contours 90. And it's going this way.
it stays 85 mainly through there.
Yeah, it's all draining south, the whole property. kind of
Yeah.
goes.
I mean, this compensates for that.
Mhm. Um,
There's a small new building going up.
No, there's like this gray area is an add-on,
I think that's. what-
Could Daniel tell us what that gray area is?
but it's already a parking lot.
Seems
right
like a loading dock.
Daniel, could you please tell us what this gray area on the east side of the existing building is?
Yeah, so let me just also add to the conversation about, we are detaining and treating, more area, from the existing large building and the existing building to the north that weren't previously treated at all, then we're adding impervious surface, to the site. So I just want to add to that conversation. We're treating about a third of the existing large building now to that detention pond, plus that building that's to the north, plus all of the existing parking lot between those two buildings. And then that that gray square is new loading dock. The existing loading docks, it's actually back and forth between the Monroe County Highway and the site owner, but since Sunrise Breeding Court was being extended to the south, they had to take additional right-of-way, and that kind of triggered this project to happen because they were not able to get trucks in and out as they previously were before. So they had to add something. See where her cursor is now, just to the south of that, Kelsey, south. Yeah, right. Just at that edge, the south edge of the gray box is where the new truck will pull in. But they were doing that now anyway. It's just so that they can pull into and face north-south rather than face east-west, because there's not enough room for them to face east-west any longer. Does that make sense?
Yeah, they're pulling north and backing south, right? No, do I have mine?
Correct, that's correct.
Pulling south and backing north.
Yeah.
Yeah,
From the area I'm looking at, it looks like there's some existing swales, kind of,
Yeah,
what's gonna happen with those?
nothing, it's drainage easement here, the storm sewer from Sunrise Greetings Court will discharge to that southern one.
And even with the highway project, the right-of-way project, those are gonna,
Mhm.
okay, that's what you're saying, they're gonna drain into them.
Yeah. And then adjacent to the railroad, some of the other drainage from the Hyatt project will go under the new bridge
And
over the railroad tracks.
we're under the assumption that there's a culvert underneath the rail.
Mhm. Yeah, Daniel, could you talk a bit about your knowledge of a culvert under the railroad?
We've had this conversation, I think, if you remember previously, there is an existing 24-inch metal culvert that goes underneath the railroad. It's south of this site. There's swales that drain on the north side of the railroad track. And then, sorry, you can't see it on this drawing, but they then go to that culvert that goes underneath the railroad.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Otherwise it would be-
Probably in that.
More detention.
Yeah.
Okay, okay, I haven't had a chance to review what you sent me yesterday, Daniel, but could you speak about the riprap channel or the ditch on the west side of the building?
Yeah, sure. So there's a channel that runs north-south. So this is oriented, sorry, at a different angle, but it's on the bottom of your drawing there. It's an existing defined riprap lined open channel. And that's where we'll be draining to. And that is also lower than the adjacent property to the west. So Kelsey was concerned and wanted me to check. That's pretty overgrown through there with a lot of vegetation, but it's still defined. The actual drainage way is defined. It's just hard to get back into. So we went ahead and did some additional as-built information to make sure there's no hindrances, making sure there's no places where water could seep through and maybe flood the property to the west. So we just made sure that that was the case. And it's in most places, it's 2.5 feet deep with a 1 foot flat bottom. It's riprap lined to the point where you see on my drawing. And we did an open channel calculation, assuming that our pond failed. And the water, if our pond failed, then the water would rise to about 1.3 feet with a 100-year event. And it's 2.5 feet tall, so we are good on a 100-year event if our pond failed, and there would be no flooding downstream.
Thank you, Daniel.
Is there any additional offsite drainage going to this pond? So there's a large structure to the north of this one. I just want to make sure that the pond.
Good question.
The watershed boundary is right north of these properties. There's a break in Sunrise Greetings Court where, I don't know exactly where it is, but these buildings will flow to the north towards Vernal Pike.
Okay.
So this is a total boundary. It's not a bigger boundary.
To also answer your question, there's a little bit of area that flows to that swale that I was just describing to you guys, off-site to the swale. But we took that into account but then none of that flows to our new pond, if that's also what you were asking.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
I was wondering if planning wanted to weigh in, since it looks like there's still some planners with us.
Does anyone from the planning department want to add anything to this?
If you'd like to unmute Sean, see if you'd like to add anything. Not seeing anything right now, but I think needs to be added.
Hi, Sean.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, I don't have any major comments about this site. I know we've been reviewing it for quite some time now, but I don't have any concerns from a planner's perspective for this project.
Thank you.
Thanks, Sean.
And Carrie Daly also reviewed this one as well, her drainage report. So
Is that our third party?
Yes, yeah, just Carrie Daly with Chris River
Carrie,
Engineering.
yeah.
He's reviewed all the drainage reports for these that you've seen, so.
My only comment that I wanna make is that if we are allowing for the pavement on the south side of the property to be covered by the extra treatment on the north side, we just may open the door that would happen again. And then, you know, so I'm just, if we're making it so that they have to treat all new, we
Yeah,
really should kind of stick to that unless we're willing to allow this area for that area down the road, which I'm not saying is a bad thing. In this case, that's a big building and a lot more area that's being treated, so I'm okay. I'm just saying we may be opening the door to swaps.
I agree, especially if there are differences with water quality concerns.
I think in this case, though, it seems like there's enough of a buffer.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Like I said, I have no problem
Yeah,
on
yeah,
this one, just in
You don't wanna
general,
open.
yeah.
And I want to clarify some of the language in the new ordinance to make it clear what is required to be detained and or treated for a new site plan. That will help.
Yeah, we're not there yet, so we have a little wiggle room right now, right?
Yeah, the ordinance it'll happen. That's the point.
I guess I have another question for Daniel. Well, not. We don't have Daniel on.
Daniel?
Daniel Butler.
Oh,
Daniel
yeah,
Butler,
okay,
yeah.
sorry, I was getting my Daniels wrong, Daniel Brown.
Yeah.
Is that new gravel that's proposed to being paved, is that all due to, the extension of the road coming through?
That is correct.
Okay, so I guess the reason I bring that up is to Ginger's comment. I agree that we should really kind of have a standard way of looking at this, and if that's a new area, then should it be detained and treated?
Yeah.
But then I guess the reason I brought up the extension of that road and it being a highway project, it kind of we've impacted them and put them in a precarious situation, so like practical difficulties on the county as
I
much as
will
the
let I'll
petitioner.
let county highway and legal deal with that side of it.
Yeah.
I don't wanna sit in this meeting to determine whether or not we're making things more difficult.
Well, no, I'm not saying we're making it difficult, it's that the road's coming through and they're wanting
Yeah,
to.
they're
put
dealing with that term.
Yeah, so just, yeah, it seems like this.
Like I said, I have no problem with this one, I just
Okay,
wanted to bring up the subject for future consideration.
okay, that I appreciate it.
And I agree, that's what, I guess I'm talking myself into being a little more amenable to what the trade-off here, but ultimately due to the fact that it's part of extending that road too, so it's kind of a scenario that they have to deal with, so, and so I agree with you though, Jenna. Jeez,
Yeah, I'm in the same world you are today, so we're
I
good.
agree with
Okay, looking at the time.
Alright, yeah, do we wanna make a motion?
Sure, I'll move to approve the proposed drainage improvements for the Hightink Veneers project.
Thank you, Bill. Jim, do you have a second?
I'll second.
Alright, it's been moved and seconded, all in favor, well, we should probably do roll call, right? I don't know.
I'll
Jim?
say yes.
Bill, yes.
I'm an aye.
Okay. Thank you.
I'm an
Yes, you are.
aye. Okay, did you have anything about the draft ordinances or technical standards?
I'll say, thank you, Daniel Butler, for coming on the call today and for your
Okay.
patience waiting.
Yes, thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you, everybody, for your time. I appreciate it as always.
So, I wasn't planning on talking about ordinance today just because of time.
Okay.
I wanted to keep the links on there just in case someone wanted to click on it and review it again. I just,
And I
we
did.
don't have time today, so.
I'm gonna have,
You did your homework?
I'm gonna have to reread it before it's on the agenda.
We're gonna go over it again. Planning department's redoing their whole development ordinance, so I feel like that's,
So they're calling it the CDO?
yeah.
What's the CDO?
County development ordinance. It was like a consolidated development ordinance and now it's county development ordinance. I think there was one other name prior to getting
That's not to
scared.
get confused with the.
UDO, the
UDO.
Unified Development Ordinance.
It's a new development ordinance. Calling
The
it.
new, it's the end deal.
I
Yeah.
have one comment
Yes.
and it's about kind of not the ordinance, but the manual and is a long document, like I wanna say
You have
300
no
or
idea.
200, almost 300.
That's just the document itself, never mind the appendices.
Of the technical manual, so.
Yes.
And a lot of that language is just nothing I'm familiar with, it's, I should go and see, try my hat at, drainage calcs someday, but,
To read the definitions.
oh my gosh. So what I'm really wondering is when we get to that,
Yeah,
having like a presentation where like some kind of, non-expert such as myself, can comprehend some of the major changes and some of the goals of why some of these are being put into the technical manual and what our intent of writing those into this technical manual are in a way where it can be presented where I don't have to just sit there and read a bunch of technical language, which doesn't really resonate that well, because this is gonna have significant impacts, and I really would like a good comprehensive review of it, in a way where, I can understand the end goal. I know that's a big ask, but this document has huge implications, and I think that we need to present it in such a way where anyone can come in and kind of get a glimpse of what we're trying to accomplish. I'll read the ordinance. I'm more versed in ordinances, so I won't ask for that technical manual. It's like me digging, looking for stuff versus like really knowing what I'm trying to look for. So
I haven't looked at it yet, so.
just wait.
Just wait.
And I didn't find the appendix, or I haven't gotten to the appendix.
they're not posted. Yeah, they're pretty lengthy.
And if we're paying a consultant to help us do that, maybe we ask them to put together a presentation too. Unless you think your team is wanting to take that on, but I feel like this is a big discussion, and it also, I feel like when we really get there, we need to do a better job with engaging the public with what's going on too, versus just in our drainage board meeting at 8:30, a lot of what we're doing with planning, there's always a few discussions that's more of a stormwater drainage question. And, I feel like since we're kind of rolling this out parallel with them doing the CDO, that we should definitely like try to get, more public involvement. It'd be very sad if this just kind of moves up the chain of command and is adopted with very little public engagement. So that's all I have.
How many pages is that thing?
This one's like 70 some, and the other one I think was close to 300.
I can have Carrie Daly from Christopher Burke do another presentation. He did a presentation at our contractors workshop, last year. Excuse me.
Was it recorded?
That one was not, no. We also had Siavash and Christopher Burke present to the drainage board before I was here. I think it was in 2018 or 19. Yeah, and that was recorded. It's on CATS if you know.
Yeah, did you send that to me?
Yeah,
More people watch the planning commission and the drainage board.
These aren't,
Yeah.
these aren't broadcasted, like, these aren't on cats, like, maybe we would ask for cats to come when we have Carrie here.
That would be-
Do an overdue, maybe even if we need to, Nate Hilgrim or down there.
and
It's easier.
All of our meetings are recorded on Zoom and the recordings are placed on the county events calendar from that meeting date, so you can go back to previous drainage board meetings and watch the recordings.
And everyone's not aware of that. I've been able to watch your licensing board, your license.
Our licensing board meetings.
Yeah, that's on there. It's so boring.
Or Bobby LaRue has like, but that's not recorded because we're trying to get the computer set up and.
All right, any other staff reports or discussions that we need to go over? All right, well, then it sounds like we're on to adjournment. Next meeting date being October 4th at 8:30 AM, which I'm okay with.
I move we adjourn.
All right, great.
I'll second.
All in
Thank you.
favor?
Aye.
Yeah.
You guys can still make the commissioners meeting and start.